Who are these masked men and where did they come from? What drives them to push the extremes of rock spectacle? How did they overcome their past differences and finally reunite? What did it take to reclaim their title as the hottest band in the world? Come witness the rebirth of rock's most incredible band. The story of how Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter reunited and wrote a new chapter in the history of rock and roll. This is Kiss, and this is their story. With roots reaching back deep into the heart of New York City, the Kiss story began. In the early 1960s, Queens-born Paul Stanley's daily ritual of watching local and national American bandstand-type TV shows spurred his embryonic quest for rock stardom. At the same time, Gene Simmons moved to the Big Apple from his native Israel and became obsessed with American rock and roll, movies, and comics. Growing up with similar ambitions and the trial and error of many garage bands, Simmons and Stanley's destinies finally crossed in 1968. The duo bonded and formed Wicked Lester, the band that would soon evolve into Kiss. Despite Wicked Lester going as far as recording an album for Epic Records, an album that remains unreleased to this day, Gene and Paul vowed to continue on their own, envisioning a hard rock equivalent to the Beatles.
When we started Kiss, we wanted to make sure that it was the ultimate rock and roll band, the band we dreamed of, the band no one had ever seen before.
Finding Brooklyn's own Peter Criss through the Classifieds and Rolling Stone, and a hotshot from the Bronx on lead guitar named Ace Frehley, the original lineup of Kiss was born.
We all created our own characters. Basically, they were all our alter egos.
Peter Criss considered himself someone who had 9 lives to survive his rough street upbringing. His Catman persona suited him from the start. Gene Simmons' demonic persona was an embodiment of every larger-than-life character that had ever enchanted him.
I know Ace sees his makeup as the spaceman, but to me what it's always looked like is a seismograph recording an earthquake. It's going off the Richter scale.
And there was Paul Stanley, rock star supreme, the star of the center stage and on-stage spokesman. It was only fitting that his makeup should exemplify his stellar inclination. Eventually reached the ears of Neil Bogart, whose upstart label Casablanca Records needed a hot new act like Kiss. Based on the strength of their songs alone, Bogart made Kiss the first band signed to his new venture. With contracts in hand, Kiss proceeded to work on its first record. Kiss's first 3 releases, Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, and Dressed to Kill, sold slowly but steadily as Kiss built its reputation as the hottest live band in the land.
The people didn't have a clue what was about to bang them over the head. When we stepped out behind the amplifiers, it was shock.
We haven't played in years and years and years. And I remember I was the first to walk through the door, and when the door opened, Gene went, "Pete!" And my heart soared. It was like, wow.
The next obvious thought was, well, maybe Ace wants to come up and jam for a song or two.
Frehley!
When Ace walked in, it was like a long-lost family member. I can't say that we were never pissed off at each other. That would be a lie. You know, no matter what happened in the past, we immediately hugged. It was unplanned. It just happened.
It was wild to walk into that room and have everybody looking at each other, knowing that it was just a matter of minutes before we picked up our instruments.
For the first time in over 15 years, Gene and Paul were reunited on stage with Peter and Ace for an amazing encore of 5 classic Kiss tunes. An irresistible force was set into motion.
We got some members of the family here tonight. And we're not talking about mom and dad. We're talking about Peter Chris and INSPEAK.
When I walked out with Peter, the audience went completely nuts. My daughter was sitting in the front row with a friend, and everybody jumped out of their chairs, and it was one of the most amazing welcomes and a gratifying feeling. I'll never forget it as long as I live.
It was great.
After 17 years apart, the day had finally come for KISS to announce their plans to reunite and tour the world together again. A huge crowd of reporters, television crews, and elated fans gathered to witness the beginning of a new era.
We're going to give the fans exactly what they want. They want to hear rock and roll all night, that's what we'll do. If they want to hear songs from a certain period, we will do that. We're here for the fans.
We're committed to this for a year, 2 years, whatever it takes, and that'll be the first tour.
Everything you've heard about the KISS years and the KISS stage shows and the spectacle is true. It's not a legend. We're going to show every new band how the big boys do it.
We're going to make sure that when we go out there, nobody goes out after the show and says this wasn't worth what I paid for it.
Nathan, bring it down to your belt. Keep that. 4.
When we decided it was time to do the new KISS photo session, we naturally turned to Barry Levine, especially
The guy in the band is as different from the other guy as you can imagine. On the surface of it, people think that Ace and Peter are similar, and that Gene and Paul are similar.
It fit me, fit my hands, it fit into nasty. Together at times, because Gene sure is that I'd want to kill him half the time. Started out with a tiger in the studio. Oh my God, it was really crazy. They bring this huge Bengal tiger, and this tiger was not going to pose with me.
When they brought the tiger into the room, it must have taken 3 or 4 people with chains and whips and the whole 9 yards to get it into the room.
I guess
After working hard to relearn my solos, my parts were finally feeling natural to play again.